kids, where are you? It's time for all the art to tell stories.
Chapter 1. A busy morning. It was a bright, crisp morning in the heart of the forest, and the day was already bustling with life. The trees swayed gently in the wind, their leaves shimmering in the sunlight, and the sound of birds chirping filled the air. Mick the Fox was in a hurry, darting through the woods, his mind racing with all the tasks he had to accomplish that day. Mick was a clever and resourceful fox, known throughout the forest for his many projects and responsibilities. Today, he had a long list of things to do. He had to collect berries for his family, visit his friend at the riverbank, and deliver a message to a nearby town. Mick prided himself on being efficient, always managing to get everything done on time. He was confident he would finish all his tasks before the sun went down. As he sped through the forest, Mick carefully planned out his day in his head, calculating the fastest routes and thinking about which tasks he could complete the quickest. He didn't have time to stop for anything unnecessary. Today was about getting things done. Chapter 2. An unexpected encounter. As Mick dashed along the forest path, something unusual caught his eye. Just ahead, he noticed a small, fragile figure on the ground. As he got closer, he realized it was a little bird, sitting in the middle of the path with one wing hanging limply by its side. The bird's feathers were ruffled, and it looked as though it had been hurt. Mick hesitated. He didn't have time for this. He was on a tight schedule, and stopping to help the bird would delay everything. He glanced down at his list of things to do and mentally calculated how much time he would lose if he stopped now. Every minute counted, and if he wasn't careful, he wouldn't finish all of his tasks before dusk. The little bird looked up at Mick with wide, frightened eyes, clearly in pain and unsure of what to do. Mick could feel the bird's helplessness radiating from it. His heart tugged at him, but his mind was still focused on his responsibilities. Maybe someone else will come along and help, Mick thought to himself, glancing around the forest. But the path was empty, and the chances of someone else passing by were slim. Mick sighed. He was torn between his desire to be on time and his instinct to help the bird. He knew deep down that the right thing to do would be to stop and offer assistance, but the temptation to keep moving was strong. After all, wasn't his time important too? For a moment, Mick stood there, frozen in indecision. But then, as he looked into the little bird's eyes again, something inside him shifted. He couldn't just leave the bird there, injured and alone. No matter how busy he was, he realized that helping someone in need was more important than his schedule. Chapter 3. The decision to help. With a sigh of resignation, Mick bent down and gently scooped up the small bird. Its feathers were soft, and it weighed almost nothing in his hands. The bird flinched at first, but then relaxed, seeming to understand that Mick meant no harm. "Don't worry," Mick said softly. "I'm going to help you." He carefully inspected the bird's injured wing. It didn't seem broken, but it was definitely hurt, and the bird wouldn't be able to fly for a while. Mick realized that he couldn't just leave the bird here. He would need to take it somewhere safe where it could rest and heal. Mick quickly scanned the area, trying to think of the best place to take the bird. His own den wasn't far, but it was too crowded and noisy with his family there. Then he remembered his friend Dr. Owl, who lived in a nearby tree. Dr. Owl was known throughout the forest for his wisdom and his knowledge of healing. If anyone could help the little bird, it would be him. Without another thought, Mick changed direction and began heading toward Dr. Owl's tree. He walked carefully, making sure not to jostle the bird in his hands. And though he felt the weight of his schedule pressing down on him, he knew in his heart that he was doing the right thing. Chapter 4. Dr. Owl's Help. After a short but careful journey through the forest, Mick arrived at Dr. Owl's large, hollow tree. He knocked gently on the bark, and after a few moments, the wise old owl poked his head out from the opening above. "Ah, Mick," Dr. Owl said, adjusting his spectacles and blinking down at him. "What brings you here so early in the day?" Mick held up the little bird, who was still resting quietly in his hands. "I found this bird on the path," he explained. "It's hurt, and I wasn't sure what to do. I thought you might be able to help." Dr. Owl nodded thoughtfully and flew down from his perch, landing gracefully beside Mick. He examined the bird with careful eyes, nodding slowly as he inspected its wing. "It's not broken," Dr. Owl said after a moment. "But it will need some time to heal. You did the right thing by bringing it here, Mick. I'll take care of the little one and make sure it's well taken care of." Mick felt a wave of relief wash over him. He had done the right thing, and now the bird was in good hands. Dr. Owl carefully took the bird from Mick and carried it up into the hollow of his tree, where he had a small nest ready for such emergencies. "Thank you, Dr. Owl," Mick said, feeling grateful for the owl's kindness and expertise. Dr. Owl smiled down at him from the opening of the tree. "No need to thank me, Mick. You've already done a great kindness by stopping to help, when you could have just walked by. Not everyone would have made the same choice." Mick nodded, feeling a sense of pride swell in his chest. He had made the right decision, even though it had delayed his plans for the day. But now, as he turned to leave, he realized something unexpected. The delay didn't bother him as much as he thought it would. In fact, he felt lighter, knowing that he had done something kind. Chapter 5. A Changed Perspective. As Mick made his way back down the forest path, he couldn't stop thinking about the little bird and the decision he had made. He had been in such a hurry that morning, focused entirely on his own tasks and goals. But stopping to help the bird had reminded him of something important.